my mind is made up.
Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine.
And I'm David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes, and welcome to Three Sheets, our podcast where we chill and chat with individuals making a difference in the cruising lifestyle.
Each episode, we'll dive into all things cruising related and bring you some of the most influential characters out there. So sit back, grab your favorite bottle, light them if you got them, and enjoy the adventure. Hey guys, Eric Kyle here, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. I want to welcome you to another episode of Three Sheets Podcast, where we enjoy the heck out of talking to people that are living the lifestyle we all want to live anywhere and everywhere around the world. Today, we are joined by Ken and Kelly with SV Crooked Anchor. Guys, so great to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Oh, appreciate you guys having us in, man. This is a treat for us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Good. Well, we're actually joined by David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine, my cohort here, and he was super excited about having you guys aboard. David, tell us a little bit.
Yeah, Eric, thanks. I am really stoked to talk with Crooked. In fact, it's SV the Crooked Anchor, right? Like the one and only.
Yes, sir.
Crooked Anchor. Huh. Love it. So we met these cats in Annapolis. They were recently minted winners of, was it Video Clip of the Year? What was it?
It was Fiasco of the Year.
Oh, even better.
I think that was it was sponsored by Qualified Captain.
Yes, it was.
Nobody wants to be on Qualified Captain, you know that, but somehow we made it on there.
Well, congratulate. We recently interviewed Aaron and Qualified Captain, and we had a blast with him. But so you guys won Fiasco of the Year, which is such a fantastic award to actually have a name called Fiasco of the Year, because you had a python on your boat. So listen, I don't want to spoil any surprises. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but we had a chance to hook up, and then in Annapolis. And then I ran into you guys after the show at Bacon Sales, right?
Yeah, Bacon Sales.
We love that place. That was
a
awesome.
great store. I was looking for a stanchion for my sailboat that had a mismatch, and we found one there. We've been looking for years for one.
Oh, those guys are amazing, man. You know, the Stevies, as I call them, because it's Stevie Jr. and Stevie Sr., and it's like the Twin Towers, those two guys, right?
Yeah. Great guys, man. They've been over backward for us, shipping our product out, parts that we ordered because we couldn't bring them on the plane. The thing was like a weapon,
So this podcast is not sponsored by Bacon Sales, but, we're still mentioning them. So, Stevie, you owe us some money. So I ran into you guys. I think you were wearing a hat. Looks very similar to this, wasn't
it? Yep. Sure was.
And you bestowed upon me some swag, which I appreciate. I wear it or I keep it to this day. So
awesome.
Yeah, we're
Thank
stoked.
You.
Yeah, so we're stoked to talk to you.
I am really interested, guys. I took a look at some of your YouTube videos, and I'm really interested in just getting a little bit of a backstory, kind of an overview of what kind of boat you guys are on, how long you've been cruising, where you've been going. And I'd like to dig in a couple of the videos that I saw and ask you a few questions. So Kelly, maybe you could start us off. Tell us a little bit about what you and Ken are doing. And by the way, let Ken know I'm very proud of him for wearing a clean shirt today.
Yes.
I did dress up because we're usually in like swim trunks and, T-shirts. So
yeah. Well, right now, so we're on a 1990 Gemini catamaran. We've been cruising this is our 6th season. Full time. So currently we're sailing and cruising in the Exuma. So this morning we were snorkeling, but we wanted to make sure that we got back in time for this. So we're enjoying it. We totally refit the boat. Captain's he's a woodworker, so we did all the work on the boat, but totally refit.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a sailor, but I became a plumber, a painter, electrician, a mechanic. And people said, how do you get so good at what you're doing? And I said, I'm poor. You got to be able to fix stuff when you're poor.
That's fine.
Well, you kind of don't have any choice, do you? I mean, when you're out there in the open water, or you're even in some third world country, you just, if there's a system that's gone down, hopefully you have Starlink, you can connect to the internet, do a YouTube video or something. But I now know the difference between the screwdriver and hammer, so I might be dangerous when I try to go.
Yeah. Well, they say the definition of cruising is fixing boats in exotic places. And we've had our share this year, and videos are coming out. Some interesting stuff's happened for us. So
Yeah.
boats are always need something done.
Well, we'd rather work on a boat than a house right now. So everything's good.
Amen to that. I love the woodwork too in the back that I'm looking at. It looks beautiful there.
Appreciate it.
So on your Instagram page, I love this one right here. This is your line right here. 2 sailors who aren't retired just quit to sail full time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons I was stoked to talk to you is because, I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot, and I know a lot of people are talking about, our friends over at Young Cruisers always talk about this. Why are you waiting? Why do people wait till they're retired to go cruising? It's so much more affordable now, I think, than ever was, especially with, Wi-Fi being around and stuff like that. You can still work if you have to, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're on this Gemini, and it's a small cat, and people don't realize that you can actually cruise and travel, and you don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need a $300,000 boat to get out in the places that we're in. We're in the Bahamas now, and this is our 4th year coming over,
Mhm.
and it's on a Gemini. It's a 32-foot small cat. I mean, it's a coastal cruiser, but you choose your weather, you choose your days, and you can pretty much go anywhere you want to go.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
we wanted to
curious.
do it now. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Kelly, please.
I was just going to say we wanted to go ahead and start cruising now because we started having, family members and friends get sick or, life does get in the way. So we wanted to do it now, not wait till, 20 years from now because, you don't ever know what's going to happen.
No,
Yeah.
I completely understand. I did have just a couple of quick questions about getting into the cruising lifestyle. My wife and I are aspiring cruisers, so I'm just kind of curious for my own sake. Um, there's a whole process that's kind of involved. It's not just you go into work that day, never thinking about cruising, quit your job, go find a boat, and then leave. So there is a process involved between the time that you make the decision that we're going to live aboard to the time that you get on a boat and go. Talk to me a little, Kelly, maybe you can offer some insight on this. What was the process that you and Ken went through in order to get to the point where you got to go on the boat?
Well, first this was Ken's idea because I was on that backside thinking, well, we have the big house, we have good jobs, we have family we're still raising. That's something we can't do right now. I kept thinking that seems impossible. But little did I know he was starting to plant the seed, taking me to the boat shows. We met Bob Bitchin in Tampa at the St. Pete show. So we would go to the boat shows, we would tour the boats. I was always taking pictures of sailboats. So he was planting seeds along the way. He's like, we can do this, we can do this. And I didn't think we could, but we started.
Sorry, but it was like 15 years ago, and we got subscriptions to the Latitude and Attitude magazine back then. So
He was planting seeds then.
and I lay them around the house with the sailboats on them. Somebody asked me, what was the hardest part about getting into lifestyle? And I said it was convincing my wife it was her idea.
Yeah,
That's
But we-
great.
that's true. We started downsizing, having yard sales, making the plans, started saving money. So it was probably 12 years in the making.
Yeah. It seems like a far-fetched thing. It seems like it's so far over the fence that it's unreachable. But once you get over the fence, you get on the other side, the grass is greener kind of thing. It seems a lot easier. Getting rid of stuff was really hard.
Yeah.
Stuff that you've collected, of tools, of family photos, just you name it. I mean, everything. We own nothing that ties us to land now. So
Well, that's kind of my point is that as my wife and I think about going cruising ourselves, we're like, what do we do with the house? What do we do with all of our stuff? Do we put it in storage? Where are kids going to be? I have to learn about systems on a boat. I mean, there's just a whole mountain of things that you need to kind of learn or know. And then just buying the boat. What kind of boat is right for us? I mean, I was thinking somewhere in the 45-foot range, and I was hoping for like a monohull, but the wife wants a catamaran, and she's thinking, yeah, and that's going to be a pricey thing. So all of those things need to go into it. How are you guys able to overcome some of those things in order to activate the cruising lifestyle yourselves?
Oh, well, we moved to the coast when we started wanting to buy the boat. Well, it was about an hour and a half from home. So we were living on the water. We found a boat. It was in the backyard on our dock. So he was able to do the work for 3.5 years on it before we left.
Mm.
And then we got rid of the house. Once we made that decision to sell the house, we were renting a house because we had this idea to do this.
Yeah, our mortgage was, it was an extension of mortgage. We were doing the American dream, buy a big house, big corner lot, trees, a dog, kids. And this idea came up. And one of my clients, I did home improvements for 26 years. I had my own business. And one of my clients asked if I would go to Palmetto to tile their beach house, so to speak. It was on the canals. And so I went over there and tiled that, and the house next door came up for rent. And the thing was that we couldn't, with our lifestyle, we couldn't afford a boat and then have storage for a boat. We had to buy, slip fees and then do repair work because I couldn't afford a new one. I had to buy, one that needed some love and care. And so when I was doing this tile job, the house next door came up for rent, and I looked at it. It was a smaller house, and we went over on a Saturday and took a look at it, and it was $800 a month less than our mortgage. And I said, "There's the boat payment," and it had a dock in the backyard, and there was no slip fee then. So it kind of fell into our laps a little bit. You have to be looking for it, or it doesn't happen.
Right.
And then that was kind of how we got to where we could financially step into that path.
And as far as storage, we don't have anything in storage. We got rid of all the furniture and household belongings. You realize along the way what's more important. The furniture you can buy later, So we weren't really attached to any of that. The cars, we just sold his truck this past 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So that's all the land stuff that we have.
Yeah.
It's almost like the anti. Remember that skit from George Carlin years ago about Place for My Stuff? Do you remember that?
Oh, vaguely.
Okay, well, maybe I'm the only one. Anyways, he had a skit called Place for My Stuff, and he used to talk about the fact that everything you do, like, I got all this stuff, and then you get so much stuff, and it's like, I got to go out and buy a house, but now it's a bigger house. But now you got to get more stuff because you got more space. But then if you get like a cabin in the woods, now you're going to move some of your stuff to the cabin in the woods. So eventually over a lifetime, you end up you need more places for your stuff.
That's
you guys
true.
are like getting rid of your stuff. So you're going in the opposite direction.
We're absolutely going the opposite. We made a little rule that said it couldn't come on the boat unless it did two things. And you say, okay, it's a hammer and a bottle opener. Okay, it can come on the boat. It's a curling iron.
That's
no,
awesome.
it doesn't do anything else. No, it's got to go.
So you're getting rid of your stuff. You're getting rid of your stuff. Eric, you go cruising, you're going to have to get rid of your stuff, but don't give me any of your stuff because I've seen some of your stuff and I don't want any of your stuff.
I'm not bringing my curling iron, David. It's just not on the list.
We put stuff in storage before, and by the time we got it out of storage, we could have bought new stuff. And, if you stored a gold bar in a storage unit, over time, you'll pay more for the storage than you would for the gold bar. And really, by the time you go back, some of the stuff could already be antiques by the time you get it out of storage, but you'll see that it's not worth it. None of the stuff is worth saving.
It's amazing. It's amazing how fast you realize what you don't need in life. You know what I mean? When you start getting rid of things, and it's like, I'm always telling my wife this, and I'm sure she'll listen to this and probably beat me over the head. But it's like, honey, why do we need that much closet space for all these clothes? Get rid of the clothes. If you don't wear the clothes at least once in a 1 year time, maybe it's time to get rid of it. That kind of thing. I've got 5 T-shirts I wear pretty much all summer long. And whatever. But it's like you get rid of stuff, right? I want to ask where you guys are from because that's not a New England accent I'm hearing.
Born and raised in Florida, Central Florida.
Lakeland.
Yeah.
Lakeland area.
Okay.
Between Tampa and Orlando. So
and are you still working? Are you still working?
No,
we're not working.
No, we're not retired either. We just quit. So we just quit, man.
We can find work. We wanted a job. If we need to find work later, we'll find work. But
what
honestly,
did you do? What did you quit from? What did you quit from?
I had a a home improvement business of my own, sole proprietor for 26 years. I did a lot of kitchen and bath remodels, custom tiles, stuff like that, custom cabinets. And what I realized, for us to make this step was I had done that for 26 years and I wasn't a millionaire. And I thought, if I do it for another 26 years, and at the time I was 54, I think, I could do it for another 26 years, I'd be 80 years old and I still wouldn't be a millionaire. Now, don't get me wrong. I made a good living. I had toys. I had an offshore fishing boat. I had a riding lawnmower, which I'm glad I got rid of that. But it's
You had different toys.
yeah, we're richer in different ways, man. We truly are.
And I worked for Publix supermarkets for 21 years, so that was a good company, and it's still a good company. But that was hard for me when it was time to let it go. But I couldn't do that job and work and do the sailing, so we just changed our life.
Yeah.
We had the better though.
We had a little bit of money in the banks, and but when we sold everything, like I said, cars and house and just basically liquidated everything. I had an offshore fishing boat, and I said, well, we'll sell this, and I said, we'll go till that money's gone. And I figured we'd probably get maybe 2 to 3 years. But somehow it's been 5 years. The first year you chew up your budget pretty quick because you don't know the things that you need. You got to improve the boat. You got to get it in the top working condition. And then the second, maybe about the third year, you've got it honed down to a pretty good, manageable, on the funds.
I'm curious. Tell me a little bit about, and obviously you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but just for my own edification, what would be a typical budget on an annual basis to enjoy the cruising lifestyle?
If nothing goes wrong, I think $1,000 to $1,200 a month.
Okay.
If
Is that
nothing goes wrong.
Well, what would spend money on? We had an air conditioner go out this past year. There's I don't know, $2,500, which is, it's not fixed in our budget, but it's something that we wanted to repair. Because if it's one of those things, if you get a little dent, like in your car or truck, and you get a little scratch and a little dent and a little scratch, eventually you got this big pile of junk. But if you fix one every time it happens, you'll always have a nice car, a nice vehicle. Same thing with the boat. If you don't fix everything as it breaks, eventually you're just going to have a boat with everything broken on it, and it's not going to be worth it or safe to sell it.
Well, and you see those boats that are off in the derelict yard. You see those boats that are still on the hook somewhere down in the Miami area, and there's thousands of them down there that people just kind of walked away from because they didn't keep on top of them. We watched some of your videos. That engine you guys had to replace when you got the new engine in. As a matter of fact, I saw one of your offshore fishing boats. It's right there on your chest because when you broke or dislocated your collarbone,
yes,
you had a picture of that offshore fishing boat right there. I was trying to figure out what kind of boat that was.
It was a center console Cobia. It had a 225 Yamaha on the back of it, and
that was a fun boat.
I'd burn it up on the offshore grouper fishing out of Tampa. I can tell you.
So you guys basically
jumping
are
on the
fixing
deck.
everything as you go along, right?
I missed that.
You guys are basically fixing everything as you go along, then, right?
Yes, you have to. Otherwise, it's just a little bit of money here and there. But if you waited and let everything was broke, it would be a big chunk of change.
Right.
So you had an offshore fish. You had an offshore fishing boat. Where did the sailing part come in here?
I'll tell you. For me, what happened was I was watching a show on PBS called I don't know. I'm not trying to promote these guys, but I'm just telling you the story. And it's called Ice Blink, and it was with Dave and Jaja Martin, and that's what they did. They got on a boat and they fixed it up. They traveled the world. They had family on it, and it was just an inspiring video. And I just thought that I could do that. I really thought I could do it. But I didn't know anything, man. I didn't know how to sail. We had to take sailing lessons just to learn how the boat would move.
Yeah, we took the 101. So we took one class.
We took one class and said that's all we knew, jumped in it, and we learned the hard way.
So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this real quick. So you mentioned Bob Bitchin earlier. Bob has been blamed for ruining a lot of lives in the cruising lifestyle. So good for you for bringing him up. So you were
we praise him and curse him.
Well, we do the same thing here on a regular basis. So you guys were subscribers, or are you still subscribers to our magazines? Oh, by the way, we have this magazine called Latitudes and Attitudes. Eric,
Yes.
do you have one laying around you can flash the camera with? Drum roll. There it is. I just got the dog back. Shut up.
We do have a subscription still, but it's digital now because we don't have a mailing address to to send them to.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you staying a subscriber. So not only are you a digital subscriber, but I know that this is going to come as a no surprise to you. You're actually going to be a published writer in this next issue.
I'm stoked about that.
Well, we are stoked to have it. You gave us an article that we were going to run in this next issue, but then you gave us another one. It was on how to prepare, or what you did to prepare for a hurricane. So we decided to run that instead. But I want to go to the article that you submitted. It revolved around a snake. And this apparently we're going to segue this into your claim to fame for the International Cruising Awards. So why don't you tell us what the hell happened there?
Well, I will tell you that I found the snake, and I am petrified of snakes. And this is not just a little garden snake. It was 5.5 foot. First of all, we were anchored in the Everglades on our way to the Florida Keys, because that's where we like to winter. And we woke up the next morning. It was about 4:30 in the morning, getting ready to head out, and we were in the cockpit. The engine, we were getting ready to pull the anchor.
We already pulled.
We already pulled anchor. We're getting ready. To head out, and I moved one of our chairs that are in the cockpit, and it was sitting behind it. So I found it. So 5.5 foot. It was coiled up. I guess where we were anchored in front of a delta.
Right out of Cape Sable.
Cape Sable, yeah. So
so we weren't inside the Everglades. We were about a half a mile, maybe a quarter mile offshore from there, because the bugs can get pretty nasty in there. Mosquitoes and flies and no-see-ums. But the funny thing was, she screams, "There's a snake!" And I turn around and I said, "Where's the GoPro?" And she goes, "Screw the GoPro, get that snake off the boat." And I'm like, "Where's the GoPro?" And like that panic moment where you're like, I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find the GoPro. I finally found it. We got a little bit of video on it. I toss it out of the boat, and she says, "You make sure there's no more in here." So I start going around the boat, and would you believe, everything looked like a snake. Every rope, every strap from a life jacket. I mean, it was weird thing. It was weird. So anyway, I canvassed the area. Supposedly nothing's there, and I hear this alarm going off. Beep, 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 beep. I said, "What is that now?" And it was a shallow water alarm. We had the boat in gear and was blindly running with no autopilot on, and we were headed right back into land, and we were in like less than 2 feet of water before we realized it. So we almost qualified captain it on the major scale there, but
well, those adventures are all the time when you're out there cruising. You never know what you're going to get. And you had mentioned the GoPro. So that's a kind of a good segue into, you guys are filming a lot of your adventure and your YouTube channel.
Yes.
It's roaring, guys. Tell us a little bit about it.
We never really thought about being YouTubers, but we got on the boat. Everything, we had photo albums. We had boxes of pictures. This is back when it was all on, little hard copies things like paper and stuff. And when we had to get rid of our stuff, that was one of the things that had to go. Now, we kept pictures. We digitized the ones that we needed or wanted to save. But now that you got everything's on a cell phone, or it's in the cloud or whatever, and our family were asking, "Where are you at? What are you doing?" And 20 people a day would ask what we were doing. So I was like, we could just do a YouTube page, and then our friends and our family can just go to that, and we'll just kind of keep them up to date with that. That's how we started out. And that's what we started doing. Well, the next thing you know, we're meeting some wonderful people with cruising. There is a a plethora of people that are cruising in the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so they want to follow us. And it just kind of started just getting out of hand, growing, not out of hand, but, growing. And then now it's like, well, if we're going to do it, let's just try to step it up a little bit. So, you buy some music, you get a nice editing program, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But I guess that's my job now.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys take this. Well, I mean, first of all, if I moved a chair and saw a snake on my boat, first I'd say it, then I would do it. But then it turns into GoPro, and you get a video, and you put it out there, and next thing you know, you're winning Fiasco of the Year at the International Cruises Awards in Annapolis 2024.
Yes, that was
I
great.
remember
That was awesome.
I remember the moment when you guys came on stage. It was hysterical because, I forget the other people that were in your category, but you guys came on stage, and I know we got a clip of it somewhere we'll put into this podcast when we edit it, but you guys are real humble about it. You were just like, matter of fact, like, oh yeah, shit happens. You got a snake.
Yeah, we was going to the boat show. We had tickets, plane tickets and everything, but Hurricane Milton had came in, and Helene before, but Milton came in and the airport shut down. So we were supposed to fly out on Wednesday. We didn't get there until Friday.
Yeah.
The awards was at 7:00. We landed at 5:30. It was an hour drive.
Yeah.
We tried to get an Uber. We were a mile and a half from the venue, and we walked that last mile and a half and walked in the door 15 minutes before the awards started. So we had done an acceptance video. They said if you can't make it, you make a little thank you for having us, and we appreciate everybody's voting video. And so, but we don't know if we had won or not. And when they announced us as being winners, I jumped up and said, "We're here! Don't play that video. We're here!" And so that was pretty fun. It was fun.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
So, Kelly, tell us what the plan is. I mean, you guys are in the Bahamas right now. You're on a catamaran, a nice Gemini catamaran that Ken has been fixing up this whole time. And you guys are 6 seasons out. What are you guys up to this season, and what's going to be coming up here for you in the future?
So we are making our way down the Exuma chain. We're going to spend the next couple months just exploring, and we got some friends flying over, so we want to show them some of this lifestyle. So maybe they get they're both retired now, so who knows? Maybe we'll get some new cruisers on the way. But and then we're going to try to go up. We're going to go up the East Coast of Florida, Georgia, maybe up to the Carolinas. We've never done that. We always are on the west coast of Florida, so we're trying something different this time. Maybe try out some new marinas that we haven't been to, and just try something else.
Possibly next year, farther south toward Grenada or so.
Yeah, maybe the Great Loop, or the Caribbean Loop, right?
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Is it common that every year you go just a little bit further and then come back, and then a little bit further and then come back? I think that's kind of what my wife and I's hope is, that we might be able to try out the Caribbean, the Bahamas first. And if we can make it to the Bahamas and not die, then maybe we'll go into the Caribbean and see if, we got to go through the Bermuda Triangle to get out there, right? So it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Bahamas, we're all over all the different regions, and it's hard to, we're going a little bit further, like you said. But we've done some out islands, and we have a lot of favorites. So what we're just, watching the weather and seeing what's the best route, whether we go this way or that way. So and then when you were saying about the boat, one thing I want to just mention, if you're looking for a boat, put in, whoever it is looking for a boat, put it in your mind that when you're in a marina, the length of your boat is how much a marina slip's going to be. So
by the foot.
Yeah, by the foot. So whatever math you need to do to figure out how long you can do it, the better you budget, the longer you can cruise. That's what we're thinking. We're doing this while we can. We're debt free, and we have a lot. We have money in the bank more than we're working full time. So we're actually doing, we think, a lot better than and living the best that we can right now while we can.
Yeah, and our you asked about a little farther. A 20-mile jump was a long ways for us when we started.
Yep.
And now, like a 90-mile jump is just a day. It's just it's like driving to the store, man. And we're going to the store. Got to make a jump, and it's 90 miles. We get up early and do it.
Yeah.
No big deal.
What is the number one concern that you guys wake up with every day? Is it what the wind's doing, what the tide's doing, what the surf's doing? Is it, did I feed the cactus on the aft part of the deck? What's the number one? Did somebody fall overboard? What's the number one thing that you guys have top of your mind on a daily basis as being a cruiser?
Weather.
Weather.
Yeah. What's coming up? The
we,
winds.
We look at the weather 3-4 times
storms.
a day because it changes so quick. We're looking out as far as we can. About a week is about as best you can get on a good judgment. Not dying out here is a pretty good thing to worry about. We've been in some really nasty storms, really nasty. And sometimes you don't grab the camera as quick as you want, but we film it if we can.
Right.
But yeah, it's just weather. I think weather's mostly. When we started out, when we bought the boat, I went out every day and looked to see if it was sinking.
Mhm.
Now we go to bed and sleep like babies and never even think about it sinking.
It's second nature now, and
You
your
know,
your relationship will be a lot closer because you're dependent on each other.
Yeah, we thought we'd kill each other, but we've got a stronger bond. And when we're on passage, we're 50 miles offshore. She is as nice as she possibly can be.
when I see this clip on your Instagram page, you guys are living it up. I love it. I see this clip on your Instagram page. You got the grill, and you're grilling some surf and turf and whatever. And, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, man, my biggest fear besides weather would be losing a steak overboard. Right, Eric?
That hasn't happened yet.
He's referencing something from the BVI 15 years ago. You just got to make sure that the magma grill is level when you take one steak off of one side, because if it's not, it tilts and your feet.
Oh man,
I
you
just,
still haven't lived that down.
when you see those things in slow motion and people are like, yeah, I thought he was going to jump in after that steak.
I probably would have.
Well,
Probably
let me
would.
ask you guys this, since I asked you about what's the biggest concern. What is the biggest benefit? I mean, what do you guys digging the most about this lifestyle that really appeals to you so much so that you want to keep it up?
It nourishes our soul, man. That's the best I can describe it. We've seen, you can say you've seen a sunset, 1,000 sunsets, and they're never the same.
No.
The stuff that we encounter.
The wildlife, like
I can remember one time. So what my favorite time was, and I don't want to keep stepping on you, but we were in the backcountry in the Florida Keys, a place called Content Key, and we're like 25 miles from any light source, and it's flat calm. The water is mirror. I mean, it's like a mirror, and there's no moon. It's dark, and you can see the stars. Millions of stars. Every star you ever seen in your life could be in the sky at one time, but it's also reflecting in the water. And these bioluminescent little creatures come around, and they're making these little pops in the water, like rings, like raindrops. And there were millions of them happening for like 30 minutes. And I tried everything I could to get a picture or a video of this to share. And it just wouldn't work. It was too dark. But that happened for 45 minutes and it was gone. And I don't care how you try to explain it. You could not convey the majestic that it was there. And it's like, that's why we're out here. That kind of stuff, stuff you can't get sitting on the couch for sure.
it's hard to explain unless but that moment, and then the wildlife for me, seeing the sea turtles and the dolphins, the manatees, the stingrays, just all the wildlife. Snorkeling the reefs. Not a big fan of sharks, but
Or snakes.
Or snakes.
Well, feeling that connection has got to be just an absolute spiritual experience when you feel connected to the wind, the water, the sky, the universe. When you're out there and there's not anybody else around, just you and Mother Nature.
Yes. And if you ever been on a calm, quiet night and you can hear nothing man-made,
That's cool.
No air conditioner, there's no cars, no sirens, no horns, no people talking, It's unbelievable.
It's a beautiful sound of silence, isn't it?
Yes.
Ken, I gotta switch gears real quick and ask you a little bit of a serious question, because I know you guys are from Florida, right? And so you basically do the passage all the time from the mainland to wherever you're going to, right?
Mhm.
Do you have a place in Florida where you keep your boat on a regular basis when you're there?
Not not a regular place. We're on the boat full time, so if it's somewhere, we're there. A lot of people put their boats on the hard. A lot of people put them in slipped or marinas and leave them there. But the neighborhood that we lived in, when we fixed the boat up, we made a lot of good friends there. And one of our friends allows us to keep our boat there. When we're there, we will go back and visit them, hang out there for a month or two, visit them and family. But we've had some deaths in the family recently, and it's kind of not a really reason to go back other than our kids, you know.
Well, the reason I'm asking this question, that we've had several cruisers and some friends of mine that I know, and I've had some people write to us. There's been a lot of, I'm going to call it hubbub, I guess, in the state of Florida relating to liveaboards.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We've heard about that.
Yeah, and just in terms of not using the term liveaboards, making sure you use the term cruisers when you're describing yourself, because apparently liveaboards are becoming plentiful and are causing,
frowned upon. Yes.
well, so do you have any insight you want to share on that real quick?
We see it a lot as we travel up and down the coast. There are, I don't want to say homeless people, but people that are, I guess, in need, people that are less fortunate, and some of the people we're talking about. And they really put a bad face on all boaters and cruisers. All the fighting that we see, Wally Moran is a big advocate for fighting for boaters' rights or cruisers' rights or liveaboard rights. The derelict boats and stuff is something that they're really pushing on, because that's what the people that are land see. They don't see all the stuff that we see. And so it paints a negative, bad picture in there, and puts a negative feel for it all. We hate that. We hate that that's the way it is. But the boats sit out there with the people that can't afford to fix them, or choose not to, and eventually they sink and they become a problem of the state.
Well, that is a problem for us cruisers too, though.
Yeah.
It is, then we can't anchor there.
Because they want to regulate all of us instead of just the people that are causing the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we stay.
That's really
we try to stay in regulated places that are like mooring fields are really nice. We very rarely stay in marinas. It can get pricey and it can chew up your budget. But if you're traveling, you can pretty much anchor anywhere you want for 2 or 3 days, and you won't be harassed or hassled. But there are areas that are a bigger concern. The Miami, Fort Lauderdale, they really frown upon it. People's got $1 million house and they don't want some junker boat in the backyard. And I don't blame them. But if you're passing through, they pretty much leave you alone.
So you guys had mentioned earlier, Kelly, that you guys might be going up the East Coast. So would that be this fall? Are you going to make it all the way up to Annapolis, or hang out in the Carolinas and come back?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Annapolis. We would love to go back up there again and attend the show.
Tell them what plans are.
What?
We already got reservations, I think.
Oh, yeah, we're headed up to, we're on 3 wait lists for marinas in Georgia and South Carolina, because of I guess they want you on the wait list so you can get up there. But we would love to. We talked about going back to the Annapolis show. We had such a good time, but I don't know how far we'll get. We're a little late in Bahamas. I mean, we're making our way down, and people are already going back up north now. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we definitely would like to make it back up there.
Well, if we want to follow you guys, tell us about the channel that we can go to in order to catch up on the videos that you've done and keep track of what you're doing here in the future.
Okay, great. So we're on YouTube, SB the Cricket Anchor. Instagram, Facebook, and I did start a TikTok. I know we're too old for TikTok, but hey, we're just showing that old people can do it too.
You're never too old or too young. That's the truth. And that was what I stated at the Young Cruisers Association. We really appreciate them allowing us in, these old fogies.
Yeah,
Well, we love catching up with you guys. I want to thank you guys for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. We'd love to be able to continue to keep up with you guys when you're out there cruising. David, any final remarks before we let Ken and Kelly go here?
Well, with regards to Young Cruisers Association, I know that their big mantra, I know young is in their title, but their big mantra is young at heart. You know what I mean? So I know they got members as old as 80s and 90s from what I hear from talking with them. And, we love our relationship with them. But you mentioned earlier about someone coming down to visit you, I guess, flying to visit you. You need to sell them a subscription to Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. We'll give you a free hat.
I'll definitely push it.
We'll give you a free hat.
free hat. Awesome.
Shameless. The man is shameless. Thank you guys. We really appreciate it. We wish you all the best, and our hearts are full of gratitude for you sharing your time with us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again soon.
Yes, thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
Bye.
My mind is made up. I'm gonna sail away. Latitudes and attitudes will help me find my way with my loving cup. A little salt and a